Carlos Nelson with Cascade Media Group and What's Up Kansas City. And today we're getting an update from the Sheriff's Department on what's going on in their world in Jackson County. Got my guy Doug on. Hey Sarge, tell our community what the deal is. What's going on out there in the county?
Well, it's like anywhere else right now in this country, it's absurdly cold. So things have been a little bit mild as of recently. However, we're all dealing with the same thing, trying to maintain some sort of composure and some sort of sense of normalcy in this, COVID era. And hopefully, God willing, the creeks don't rise, this post-COVID area that's coming up. But on top of that, we're making a lot of changes in the office and a lot of changes in the way we do things between us and the community.
Run that down, some of the things that you think that are necessary, and talk about a little bit about some of the changes, and really I should have led this off. Tell our community who the hell you are and where you grew up and all of that. That's what we want to know.
Okay. All right. My name's Sargeant Doug Blodget. I've been a sergeant here with the sheriff's office for the last 7 years, 6 years, almost 7.
Are you from Kansas City?
I've bounced all over the world. I'm a military kid, and then I also.
Well, hey, run it down. Hold it. Run down like from your high school to where you at now, and how.
Okay, so I grew up. I grew up all over everywhere on military bases, between as far away as Buffalo, New York, all the way down to Fort Hood, Texas, and everywhere in between. However, I'm a graduate of Junction City High School. USD 475 in Junction City, Kansas. It's a town about 2 hours away. It's probably about
one.
Huh?
The Big Red.
You got it. Yeah. So I grew up. I was blessed in my upbringing. I grew up in a very everywhere I was at was a very diverse area. I mean, that's one thing that the military gives everyone is kind of a sense of people,
inclusion,
just everywhere. Since then, I joined the service. I was in the Navy, did some time in the Navy, bounced in a couple different places there, ended up back here in Kansas City, fell in love with the city.
You married?
No, sir. No.
Right.
No, I'm in a long-term relationship. My girlfriend / better half / much more intelligent half. She's a nurse. She works
all of us.
Right. She's a nurse at Truman Hospital here in Hospital Hill. She's been doing that. Actually, that's how I met her. I was working, and it was on a call, and I met her in the emergency department. Things just went from there. So we've been together now for 12, almost 13 years.
How's that covert affecting her and her ability to serve the community like yourself?
It's been taxing. I could tell the mental exhaustion and the emotional exhaustion is more than anything.
Right.
She's a hard woman.
Does she feel her safety and things, health wise?
I think they all have some concerns, but they just like us. I mean, our devotion to our service, for lack of a better term, always trumps our own idea of desire of self-preservation. Whereas me and mine, we're always going to run in, regardless of how bad the situation is, to help somebody.
Like
she's the same way. It's just a different one.
Run right into danger. That's what your job is. And hold it. Hey, Sarge, that's one of the main reasons why I want y'all on the show.
Right.
It's like you got good military, you got bad. You got good cops, you got bad. I've been talking to my community, not my community leaders,
right?
My community. And most of them realize that. They be saying that a lot of the white cops that are bad give the whole situation. A lot of the few bad apples in the military or any organization can hurt the organization.
Absolutely.
And my personal commitment with Cascade is to see how we bring these things and these misconceptions about both communities together. And when people hear you and hear your story and know, hey, I'm a military brat. I had the same thing that he had.
Right.
Start seeing things in common, and we get off that enemy. That's
One,
my enemy path.
one of my favorite things to remind people of is that every cop you'll ever come across, every single one of them, all of them woke up that morning or that evening or whatever it was, much like, or pretty much exactly like anybody else, you know. They're tasked with a horribly difficult job in a horribly difficult time right now. But every one of them have been recruited from the human race. I'm a true believer in there's only one race, and that's the human race.
Well, you know, me and you on the same page on that.
Right,
and
right.
You have good human beings and you got bad human beings.
Exactly. And you know, there's something to be said that cops, because we're human, just like anybody else, we're fallible. And now please don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to justify any just unexcusably bad behavior. What I'm saying is that I think we as a people need to also understand, just like anybody that I contact on a day-to-day basis can have a bad day, so can an officer. Now, again, that is not to excuse egregious behavior on any officer. If it's criminal, if it's a violation of someone's rights, it's wrong. I don't care who it is. I don't care how bad your day is. However, I think we all on both sides of this topic need to start giving each other a little latitude. Like, hey, it's stressful right now for everybody. We're seeing a big shift in the culture of the entire nation, right? Well, anytime you have change, you have natural pushback from either side. It doesn't matter what side of this argument you're on or what side of this aisle you're on, there's going to be pushback because we're humans. We don't like change, right? If we don't control the change, we don't like the change. Now, the change that's taking place and that's pushing, it's necessary. You know, there's some things that has to change in our profession to make us more representative of exactly the people that we serve, right? There needs to be some more accountability in our profession. There's been a lot of times where we as cops, and I say we, have been able to, you know, kind of run unchecked. I mean, let's look back in the 80s. There was a lot of damage done in the 70s and 80s as far as, you know, the relationship between law enforcement and not just Black America, but inner city communities as a whole. There was a lot of fracture in that trust right there that we've been trying to build back up since then. And I got to tell you, we got to do better about that, right? I think one of the things that you're doing that's great is kind of humanizing the badge. Like, look, here's the thing, man. This is not a job for me. Okay, because if this was a job for me, I'd have left a long time.
I'm going to say you'd have been gone.
Absolutely. The only way I can equate this for people to really understand is it's kind of like a preacher or a priest, or, you know, a caregiver, or, you know, something. It's a calling. You're drawn to this profession. People are drawn to this profession for multiple reasons. And don't get me wrong, there are people in this job that were like, oh my, I got to carry a gun, drive fast, and fight with people.
But let me say this. I wound up understanding it. My brother-in-law, Ron Harden, he's retired off the Kansas City Police. My other brother-in-law, he's deceased. He was at Southwestern Bell, vice president. He was over all 911 in this region. And, you know, all these corporations have security and and he worked with the sheriffs and the police and all of that. And so when you have an inside view, and a lot of Blacks have members of their family, relatives that have served military and in the force. And that's why I was saying a few bad apples, because one thing I will say for the most part, 85% of all citizens, when they in trouble, who they call?
Well, they call us.
Yeah, hold it. And then you're rushing into a dangerous situation.
Absolutely.
A lot of times. Just like the firemen are rushing into a burning house. But
I don't think they're right upstairs though. Don't know when you go into burning buildings.
But then from a layman and a civilian point of view, we're looking at the negative things that come out of your department, the fire department, this and that, not understanding the pressure. Even being a police officer in any form or shape puts pressure on you, whether you was, because you're in an organization that requires loyalty to the organization, because you understand that the public is really against your ass. And what you said really woke me up a few minutes ago. Your organization understands things are changing.
Yeah.
The narrative is changing, and most law enforcement have been trained in a certain way, and,
Sure.
and have a certain mindset. And so the key things that I picked up on what you said, that y'all are planning on changing some of that.
Absolutely. So no, you're absolutely correct. When I first came on the job, we were trained in a very specific manner. It was the old adage, ask, tell, make. You ask someone once, you told them once, and then you put your hands on them, you made them. Okay. Well, I'm a proud, pig-headed, call it what you want. I'm saying,
hey, it is what it is.
Right. If you get me with a couple drinks and me on a Saturday evening and you start putting your hands on me because I didn't understand what you wanted me to do, I'm gonna react poorly.
It ain't no problem whether I had drinks in me or not.
Right.
It's gonna be a problem.
What we've realized is that the days of ask, tell, make had to stop, had to change. Because here's the deal. The idea is if you're able to speak to people, not even eloquently, just able to make a connection with someone, in many cases, you can talk them down to a point where they don't want to fight with you. You can just say, hey, bro, I know this is bad. I know this is going to ruin your weekend, but here's the deal. You got to go to jail. Here's why. This is the law that was busted. And I've always been very keen on the fact of just telling people just straight up, like, look, I give them everything, lay it out. Hey, man, that's why you got to go. This is what's going to happen. You're going to be out in like 8 hours. You got the rest of your weekend, Let's not make this worse. If they still don't want to cooperate,
key thing, what you said, let's not make this worse.
Absolutely.
That's when you can tell what's going on, because if they heard you, they're like, all right, let's get this over.
Right.
And didn't hear you. Now they're a bunch of pushback, and now that puts you in a different gear.
And then, but then at that point in time, I still, and I've trained the people that work for me in the same manner. Make sure that they understand. Hey, look. So you're telling me I'm trying to be, I'm trying to be good to you. I'm trying to be patient, but you're telling me you ain't gonna cooperate. And then I make sure that they tell them this. Are you telling me you are refusing to follow a lawful order? And when they're like, basically say what they need to say, a lot of them get a little vulgar, a lot of them vent. I've always been a type, I'm like, look, see, here's what's going to happen. You're going to cause me to put my hands on you. I don't want to hurt you, but I'm not getting hurt. So this only ends one of two ways, and usually at that point in time, if I give them a little bit of time of calm reflection, and if cops in general give them a little bit of time to just take a breath, a lot of times you can get compliance out of them that way. There's always going to be the situations. Always unfortunate to our career and unfortunate to our profession, and unfortunate to just the way that we as human beings operate. We do things in direct contradiction to our best interest routinely.
That's human.
That's human nature. Think about why cigarette companies make so much money. Think about why alcohol.
I don't have to. I'm in media. I understand that we are programmed. Everybody is programmed. And so those programmed to different things. When you get in the military, if you don't get with that program, either you're gonna bend or you're gonna break.
Oh yeah, and they're gonna do their deadlift test if you want to do that. No, right.
That's how it is. If you're a fireman, if whatever. And so we don't need to go on that no more. What I want to do, close out. Is there anything, because me and you plan to be on all year long, different times and what have you. Anything you want to close out with to tell our community how they can be of help to the sheriff's department?
Well, I'm going to say how you can be a help, how the community can be a help to not just the sheriff's office, but just law enforcement in general. Remember that key that I said earlier. Remember, cops are human. They're fallible. Understand that sometimes they might be having a bad day. It ain't personal. Second thing is, man, when you get in contact with the police, politeness begets politeness. There is no better way to put that. Be honest, be upfront, and be compliant. Because here's the thing. The side of a road on a car stop, that is not the time to challenge something like that. That's how people get hurt on both sides, cops and otherwise. But guess what? Again, that paradigm is shifting right now. So you're looking at those folks who have a viable and a reasonable complaint, man, the courts are siding with them on a regular basis. Take that up the proper channels. Let's stop making this adversarial against both sides. Okay. You and I both know Kansas City, the murder rate's out of control. I mean, it's completely out of control. We've got to do something with this violent crime, and we've got to find a way to open up that chain, that line of communication between us and the public.
I'm the cutoff king also, Sarge. You don't know that. I'm the cutoff king.
Okay.
What the murder rate is about in from my whole thing is economics, and that's not. See, they have what the government has is our military and our police and all our to quash all this unrest about economics at the end of the day.
Yeah, well, the problem is you're speaking to somebody who is 100% in favor of discussing the socioeconomic divide in this country. Right. I can tell you right now, poverty begets crime and violence.
There you go. And
there's no doubt.
I can't, when the ministers and the politicians, we don't understand all of this. I'm like, y'all are all full of shit.
Absolutely, because it's basic economics.
What's the problem?
Yeah.
Until you get with corporate America, and that's what my company is trying to do, even locally.
Right.
And stop supporting front organizations that say they support Black people, and then you give them the money, they put a Black face in front, and everything's supposed to go away, but there's still no jobs. You got a few Blacks that are, for the most part, selling their community out in different ways, and this has been a vicious cycle. But one thing that you see, that the narrative is changing, and how we did business for the last 20 years is not going to be acceptable moving forward.
Well, let's be honest, the way we've done business the last 20 years, it hasn't been real successful for anybody the way I can see it. You know, poverty's still high.
1%. It's been, when I say the 1%, the 1% has control of the food, the heat, everything that you need to survive. The 1% owns all these corporations, and they have about 20 levels of management. And at the end of the day, you know, if you say too much of anything on the lowest level job, being a damn, and that's not a low job, but I would say the garbage collector, because without them, we have a smelly place.
Man, without them, we don't operate.
Yeah, right. All right. But you could be at a party with your fellow garbage collectors. You know, you better watch what you say. And y'all could be there smoking reefer and drinking them. You know, you better watch what you say, because you might lose your job. Your job, and you got a family, and you know how it is out here with jobs. So the Black community is basically in a self-check position where they can't even advocate for themselves without getting punished. Now, I'm a long talker, but last night, Jamon Green, I guess he plays for San Francisco, I think, but he came on and he was talking, and that's about the whole country. He was saying how the teams can say they're gonna trade you and they do this, and then you learn about the trade in an interview and this and that. But right. If you say you want to be traded, that's against the NBA's rules. You can't talk. One of them did, they fined them $100,000. They can do all of these different things, and you can't. The playing field, that's management. That's the 1%. True. They tell you we do everything and you shut up. If you say anything, you're a troublemaker.
Right.
We went off about that, but that's how society is right now. And
I think that what we've seen, though, and the best way for me to liken these two things, when I say that the culture is shifting, that paradigm is shifting across the nation, the Jasmine Revolution. When the Jasmine Revolution took place, I mean, they basically used social media to completely revamp the mode of thinking in their country and in their region. And I see that in that the Jasmine Revolution, especially there in Tunisia, the large shift in power. The power brokers started to get kind of marginalized, and there was a big shift there. And I got to tell you, I can't say for 100% sure that that's going to break out here, but I will tell you this: it's making it's making the right people
It's
nervous.
already making an impact. Where are you at on social media right now? Because
Right.
if you're going to make an impact, you've got to be able to scale up with
Right.
your viewership and your contact and all of that. And you don't scale up with one interview. You scale up with us talking on a regular basis and having people say, hey, Sarge, calling in, we'll get some things as we if they have some things they want to say to you, if they got some complaints, we'll put the website on. They can text and do all of that, but they got to know it's there.
Right.
And that's what we're doing. And most of my audience, y'all know I'm Black Power Ungawa, and they when I have my white guests on and stuff, they be like, you be all friendly and all this. I'm like, well, how am I supposed to be? They know how I am. I know
right.
And if we have more respect like that, and I'm going off into some other stuff. I'll be telling Black people, if you were in the position white people, most of y'all would be doing the same thing because their influence is waning and they're scared. And
I think unfortunately you got some segments of white population that's very true.
Yeah, and not the whole population. I'm saying this, and that's like no monolithic thing, but one, like I said, I didn't walk in your shoes. Once my brother-in-law was in the law enforcement, because I'm a gangster.
Right.
But then I got to seeing Ronald was with the motorcycle. He got hurt. This is way back in the day. And then he rose, then he was in traffic. And one time he shot somebody. And that boy, that ruined him almost. It's like when y'all good officers, they shoot somebody, they all upset. And
I gotta tell you, when an officer's involved in a critical incident, that's what we call them. Let's just call it what it is. When an officer has to shoot someone, there's what people don't really catch a lot of times is when those officers describe that. In many cases, you'll hear this term very often. They made me. They made me. They made me. And here's why. It is such a traumatic event for a cop to have to go through. We're taught our whole lives, thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not injure. We get into these jobs and you start realizing like, hey, man, you start meeting people from all cross sections and segments of life. And you get to a point where you're just like, I don't need to, I don't judge people based on, that first meeting, that first contact. And then the first time that they're forced to use that level of force, especially nowadays, they feel so vilified and so demonized, and they're automatically looked at as they've done something wrong. And it's already so much for them to bear. We've seen a huge influx.
Most of the people don't, the cutoff king again, they don't understand the suicide rate.
It's huge.
That military and with the police force. Because
we are currently right now losing more officers a year. Every year, we're losing more officers to suicide than we are to murder and than we are to force on the job. They're killing themselves by the droves because it's an insane amount of pressure. And then you add in the fact that you're literally being forced to do something that you've always been taught was wrong.
And then you
trying to reconcile
the family. That's the whole thing with me. When these officers, whether the military, we're talking about you specifically, but it's across that board that you have families, and a lot of people don't give the thought. That's why I'm bringing this up. How when you come home and you've been dealing with the public all day, and some of us are acting like assholes, and some, your whole day is not. But then you got to come home to your wife and your kids, and you're supposed to be daddy and have a smile every day. That's rough, baby.
That's why the divorce rate in our profession is also the highest in any profession. I can tell you this, and I'll just put this kind of in perspective for you. And I apologize if this comes across a bit
it is
over the top.
I'll show what it is what it is.
I have literally had to come home and do a family dinner with in-laws after literally having to scoop a baby up out of a baby carrier that was burned up in a meth lab and take him to the coroner's office, take him to the medical examiner's office. I've seen people shoot themselves, commit suicide right in front of me. I had a man jump off a bridge one time while I was trying to pull him over. All of these things, and they always seem to coincide with some. Be it a parent-teacher conference, or be it going to one of my stepdaughter's softball games, something like that. All these things, and I mean, it gets to the point where you got cops bottling that stuff up. And when I say that, sometimes cops might just be having a bad day, and kind of give them an inch or two, it's because that's the type of stuff they're trying to process regularly.
Hey,
you don't know if when you came into contact. Yeah, go ahead.
You hear what he said? He said having a bad day. And you, as the community, why don't you just take a chill, possibly? Because you don't know what he done gave you a litany of what he's been through.
Right.
You might just accept whatever. And the other.
Now I'm going to say this: don't accept being marginalized. Don't accept.
No, what I was getting ready to say, you've already explained that the court systems are different now.
Correct. They are.
And so he might be having a bad day. If you got a case, and I'll tell you this because they done dropped cases on me when I was young, that you can explain to the judge, take your ticket and keep it moving if he ain't taking you to jail, and
right.
and go ahead and talk to the judge.
And here's the thing. That's why I say, side of the road ain't the time to argue it. Now, what I will say is this: a lot of listeners and a lot of viewers will, hear this and think that, I'm advocating for, some sort of police state. And that's absolutely not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that much like if you come home from work and your boss has been an absolute asshole the whole day and just trumps on you every chance they've gotten, or whatever the case may be, whatever that stress that comes in your job is, and you come across that officer on your way home because you're speeding, because you just want to get home, have a drink, unwind, do whatever it is, and you come across that officer, well, you're in a bad mood. Well, you don't know what he just came from. That man could have just had, somebody spitting in his face. He could have had to, be dealing with a dead baby. He could have had to been, dealing with so many different things. His wife could be leaving him right at that point in time, right, because it's very common in our profession. So when I said politeness begets politeness, those kind of words from citizens, I don't care how it's contact. I make it a point to always contact people on a daily basis in this job without any enforcement action. No desire to enforce anything. Just stop by, say hello, just have some casual conversation with people, just because it just recharges the soul a bit. You know what I mean? But the kind words that come from the community, even in those situations, you have no idea how far that goes for one of us. I mean, it literally, that can turn your whole view around that quick, because you get to those points where it's in your head where you think, man, it's just steamrolling. Nothing's getting any easier. Nothing's getting better. And then all of a sudden you have to stop a car, or you're on a call or something. And that one person's like, hey, try to have a good day. Sorry you're having a bad day. Right there changes everything. Changes the whole scope of your interaction.
Hold it. I've had to learn, because I told you I'm a gangster. I be having a bad attitude and stuff. Like, why you got the bad attitude? Even though that you might have a reason, if you just try to look at it in a different perspective, you'd be surprised what you see. And
every one of us have to do that too. I need to learn to do this as well, though. That's the thing. This isn't just, we can't rely on the community.
Well, I'm saying people in general. I wasn't saying
cops are part of that human race that we talked about. And the thing is, we as humans need to stop taking a breath, quit responding to everything with such angst and with such, aggression. Just like, that dude might got something going on, or something may be bothering him right now. Let me let that go,
Yeah. Well,
just my 2 cents anyway.
Hey, Sarge, I'm stealing this from one of my other interviewers. He's always talking this crap. It was a plum pleasing pleasure having you on the show tonight.
I appreciate it.
I stole your closing. Now I'm going to my closing, and you better not steal mine. When you invest in your community, you're really just investing in yourself. Good night.
This program is brought to you by Dye Electric LLC, Energy in Motion.